Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at Tundra 9 Zeus gameplay. This was a game he just played in, I believe, his first series of the DPC. This is Division 1 of Western Europe. And yeah, they picked Zeus late into the draft. It was their last pick of the draft. I thought Tundra's draft this game was incredibly good, so I want to briefly cover that. And then for the majority of the video, we're just going to be looking at how to play Zeus mid. He goes a very cool Kaya Sange build that I think is honestly very powerful, and the reason why is I think it synergizes very well with Heavenly Jump, your Shard, and your level 15 health talent, and let's get into it. Also, it's time for you guys to get that ball comfort. Manscaped has spent the last 2 years designing the most comfortable boxer briefs from their lab to your balls, and their new Boxers 2.0 are ultra soft and honestly feel great. They were kind enough to send me some free stuff. I highly recommend it to you guys as well. The first thing is the Manscaped lawnmower. It's rechargeable, it works in the shower, you can use it to shave your balls. It's extremely easy to use. I've had limited problems with it, so I can't recommend it enough. The next thing is the shampoo and conditioner and the body wash. These I'm using literally every single day. They smell very nice. Like for the majority of my life, and probably for a lot of you guys, you kind of just smell like a teenage boy. You know what I mean? It's like the Axe body wash that you just smell all over your gym's locker room. Get some stuff that actually smells nice. My girlfriend, yes, I actually have, you guys might not believe it, I have a girlfriend. She says it smells extremely nice. I fully agree. I love the way it smells. Gives me some confidence as well. So if you're interested in buying these products, use the link down below to go check it out. And if you use code SPEED while checking out, you can get 20% off and free shipping. And I'll see you guys there. All right, so I'm going to speed through the draft here. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I just want you guys to understand when you should actually pick Zeus in your games. And you'll see the big thing from Tundra is they're going to have quite a bit of disable. They're also going to have good vision game, good counter initiation, right? They have basically good team fight. They have good jump. That's what Zeus doesn't provide. Zeus provides vision with his ulti, kind of, if you want to preemptively use this ult, which you don't really want to do for the most part. So you'll see like they go for this DK, right? So this DK seemingly is a response to this Ember. Right? It's seemingly a response to the Ember. However, what they end up doing is actually picking a Zeus last. And Zeus is actually quite good against Ember mid, funny enough. The reason why is you can easily break through the Flame Guard if he goes that route, right? And on top of that, the Sleight of Fist spam is really not bad for Zeus. Zeus has incredibly high armor, and as a result, Ember just struggles against Zeus altogether. It's honestly a comically bad matchup for Ember, even though it really feels like it shouldn't be. But all right, let's get into it. So they last pick a Wraith King. Couple things to note about Alliance's draft. They have a lack of jump. Enigma does not jump well. Honestly, it's very hard for Enigma to get to the backline, especially against a Wyvern and a Beastmaster and a Rubik. It's a very hard Enigma game. My man is not going to get off a Black Hole onto his Zeus. Undying does not get on top of Zeus. Pugna does not get on top of Zeus. Ember does get on top of Zeus, but you're going to see with Zeus winning the lane and with Zeus going a tankier build, that's not really a problem. On top of that, there's so many, once again, disables where it's hard for Ember to jump the backline. And then finally, Wraith King, I mean, his first two items are going to be an Armlet and a Radiance or an Armlet and a Deso. He's not getting a Blink until much later on into the game. And even then, it's a slow disable. A disable, you can often heavenly jump away. On top of that, we have the save from the Wyvern. So all in all, I love this draft from Tundra. I think it's so incredibly good to last pick the Zeus here. All they need is a bit of damage. They definitely lack some damage. They absolutely lack some burst damage. The Zeus perfectly fits this role this game. It has a good winning mid matchup. It's against a bunch of tanky heroes as well, which the percentage-based damage from the Shard does very well against, right? The Undying and the Wraith King. On top of that, even the Nether Ward, you might be like, oh, but Pugna's Ward reduces his damage, which is true, but often Zeus can be out of range of the Nether Ward. Even though it's such a big range, Zeus can still somewhat be outside of it, and that's pretty cool as well. So let's get into how to play Zeus. So one thing I do want to preface before we get into this laning stage is 9 did get First Blood. I don't think he would have stomped the lane nearly as hard as he does without getting First Blood, because what you'll note is he goes for a bit of a different build. If you happen to get First Blood, you can actually just straight up buy a Null, right? If you're a Strength hero, you can straight up buy a Bracer, and so on and so on. And so he just buys a Null, right? This is obviously going to delay his bottle, but that's fine because you're going to have such a powerful start with this Null, so much extra mana regen, that your hero is just wildly powerful, right? Your hero is just incredibly powerful. And you're going to see the main thing you want to look to do, I even think this is maybe a bit of a mistake from Weehaw here. The main thing you want to look to do on Zeus is play chill. You don't need to go crazy, but you have very good base damage. So your hero is incredibly good at last hitting. And if the enemy messes up and blocks their range creep in front, you want to kill it off right away with an auto attack nuke combo. That's not exactly what happens there. Unfortunately, Weehaw actually goes for a good play to try to contest it. But now what he's going to look to do with 9 is take advantage of the fact that the range creep is dead. Zeus has some of the best base stats in the game, except for agility, and as a result, you can really look to pressure people if they walk through the creep wave. Basically what 9 is looking to do is kind of body Weehaw off the range creep that's getting low here, and force him into a somewhat awkward position. And you can see, as the creep wave starts to build up for 9, he's going to look to punish Weehaw, right? Auto-attacking him when the wave starts chasing the Ember Spirit. But yeah, keep in mind, your range does suck. Your hero is not some incredibly good trader. Like, you don't just dominate the majority of matchups. You're not just gonna take a dump on a Viper or take a or like destroy a Lina. But against these melee matchups, if you can kill off the range creep early and then use a second Q to shove in the wave, you should punish when the wave is shoving in and look for some auto attacks. But for the most part, the main way you're gonna win the lane is Zeus, even though you should obviously try to do everything well. That's how you become the best possible player, is you should really try to focus on getting high CS. It's easy, right? I cannot stress this enough. With your Q and your high base damage, you really shouldn't miss too many last hits. And the reason why this is important is your hero is very item reliant. You burn through mana like crazy. That's to the surprise of no one, but you'll see if you get a very early null timing, including this bottle timing, you can just spam spells like crazy. Now that he has level 2 Q, this Q is going to do 120 damage per tick, which is actually a very high damage nuke for only 85 mana. And with this bottle and water runes being so abusive, you can really look to pressure. He even goes a little bit crazy here, trying to solo kill Weehaw, dropping him down to like 30 HP and then backing off. A big thing as well is if you are playing Zeus, you want to make sure that you're backpacking your nulls every time you're bottling. This is very important, otherwise you're going to feel like you don't have enough mana to really put the pressure that you want. One thing to note about Zeus is that he definitely has a slight weakness when it comes to contesting runes. If your hero has been doing well in the lane up until the runes, you can obviously go for them and try to heavenly jump away, but as you'll see in this clip here, Alliance like hardcore commits to the water runes, and so he doesn't get one. What he does, and this is very important, what he does is he just backs off, kills off the small camp with the remainder of his mana, and heads back to base. Don't play it greedy, don't like kill yourself for runes, guys, unless it's like a 6-minute power rune and you're 50-50 against some support, that's obviously okay. But in general, you should be okay with taking the small camp and going back to base. On top of that, one thing I do want you guys to note, it doesn't really come up in this game, but I can guarantee you it's something that 9 would do in other games, is stacking the small camp. The reason why it doesn't come up too much in this game, he put the majority of his priority in this lane on trying to win the lane. When you're trying to win the lane mid, generally what you're doing is contesting runes, blocking the wave to get it towards your high ground, and committing the majority of your resources to harass the enemy. However, once again, if you're against something like Lina or Viper, you shouldn't commit the majority of your resources to harass. Instead, you should be stacking the small camp, sometimes at 153 into the water rune, definitely at 354, that's when you stack in the mid lane, into the water rune, and that's very efficient. But once again, in this lane, he was playing to win the lane. And now the general thing for Zeus at this point of the game, we're gonna move on towards the mid game after this, is you want to make sure that you're just maximizing your bottle. All right, I know I've said this before, but you'll see when he's bottling here, if you have 2 nulls and a mana boots, when you bottle, you get insane value out of the bottle. You really need to abuse this. Same thing even with clarities or mangoes or anything of the sort. You need to abuse the fact that you have a ton of mana items. This is the only way you can really keep your mana up on Zeus. You'll see he's gonna do it again here. Actually didn't do the mana boots there. I think it's because he thought he was gonna rotate to the bottom side, so he didn't want to backpack his boots. Didn't want to lose the movement speed. All right, now let's talk about the skill build. I'm sure a lot of you guys are curious on whether or not you should go this skill build every game. And I think the answer is yes. I've watched a couple of replays now, and the reason why this build is good is it allows you to skirmish early game. When you max out Heavenly Jump, let's talk about it, okay? So when you max out Heavenly Jump, how this ability works is it obviously moves you, but then it also zaps 1 unit in an area. Also, it gives you vision around you, so it lets you see if people are coming. But when you zap that enemy, they lose 100% of their movement speed, 100 attack speed, and 50% of their cast time, right? Their cast time increases. And so basically, when you zap someone with Heavenly Jump, they can't do anything. That's how you should look at it, right? Unless they're BKB'd, of course. And so, as we'll see in this clip here, as he jumps on Weehaw, look at Weehaw's movement speed, right? He's gonna jump on Zeus in a moment here to chase, as he understands he's actually stronger here. And Weehaw's movement speed is gonna drop to a flat 100. Movement speed can't go below 100 in Dota, except for like Disruptor E, I think, is like the one exception or something like that. But basically, he drops Weehaw to like no movement speed. This allows him to chase him down. He actually forgot to pop his mana boots here, which could have lost him the kill, but at the end of the day, a really nice solo kill from 9, forcing a rotation to the mid lane from a safe laner, which is definitely not really what you want. This is really going to open the map for 33's Beastmaster in the bottom lane, and yeah, that's just freaking huge. So when you max out this E plus Q build, you do really want to get active. Basically, you just need to bait your teammates. Honestly, that's kind of the name of the game for Zeus. There's nothing else to say. Like, in teamfights, you want to stay as far away as possible and really only use the jump defensively unless you are really chasing a low HP opponent. We'll kind of talk about this in a bit. Like, when you are chasing with Heavenly Jump, you got to be really careful, and often you got to use it to move to the side. But we'll see here, 10 minutes into the game, he rotates to the bottom side of the map to secure this tower. And the reason why they do this game, from my perspective, is if Alliance was to fight into them, it would be brutally difficult, right? This Beastmaster is very much online right now, and Zeus is also incredibly strong at this point of the game with this maxed out Q and jump build. It's very hard to get on top of him, so they're going to look to freely take up this tower, and Zeus just being here kind of guarantees this tower push. It's also on a cart wave, not that they really needed a cart to take the tower with Beastmaster, but either way, they're going to end up getting the tower, and that's pretty huge. After that, he's going to go back mid and go back to farming, and for the most part with Zeus, you want to stay mid. Your hero can't really afford to play side lanes, it's just way too dangerous for the most part. Generally, it's going to get you killed if you try to do that, so you should be spending most of your game killing mid, the mid wave, the small camp, and then kind of reacting to ganks. You can TP into stuff a lot. And that should honestly be the majority of your gameplay. You shouldn't really be setting up ganks necessarily outside of what we saw earlier with him securing the bottom tower. That's a bit more of an advanced play though that requires some synergy, so I would generally recommend just kind of getting farmed mid with Zeus and just hitting this Kaya timing as soon as possible, which is what he'll be rushing this game. One more cool trick that 9 uses as well is he's actually going to drag the camps together. This is obviously particularly good on Dire, but you should take advantage of it nonetheless if you do happen to be on Dire, where you can drag the camps together and zap through all the creeps. It's incredibly efficient, and once again, he's going to backpack all of his items. Unfortunately, he actually gets ganked while backpacking his items here. The one downside of doing that, you do have lower HP as well, but either way he's able to get out, and that's mainly because of the max Heavenly Jump. If he maxed Lightning Bolt here, he's absolutely dead. The Ember easily would have stayed on top of him, but nonetheless, he gets away. So the next thing to note on Zeus is you have to buy Clarities and Shard. When you buy Kaya, Clarities become a significantly better item, going up from 6 mana regen per second to 9, so that's important to note. And then on top of that, if you don't buy your shard right away, you're being a fool. There's no other way to put it. It makes it where anytime you hit anyone with any of your abilities, it causes damage equal to 9% of their current health. That's obviously insane, because for a hero like Wraith King, right, 9% of his current health is 180 HP. Obviously, you're going to hit him with multiple abilities, so like right off the bat, even if you just ulti Q this guy, it's going to do about a third to about half of his health. That's obviously insane. If you don't have your shard, you're missing out on like 400 damage. All right, let's say it's more around 350 damage. That is a significant amount of damage. You also have to keep in mind, when you're ultiing, that's applying to every single hero you're hitting. It's just simply 9% of their HP flat. Zeus lost this. That used to be his passive. That's not what it is anymore. His passive, I think, used to just be an AoE. It's actually kind of better now, because literally if you just click your ulti, it does the ulti damage plus 9% to everyone, because it's when they're hit by the abilities, right? It's slightly different than what it was before. So that's really important to note. And they're going to end up killing the Ember here, and really at this point of the game gets very straightforward. Generally, what I would go here is like an Aether Lens to sit behind my teammates, but interestingly enough, what 9's going to end up doing in a moment, as they kind of just easily take high ground, they're just way ahead. This is honestly largely because they kind of drafted around this. They have a lot of long-range poke. It's really cool. If anyone steps up, they get hit by a Zeus Q, an Arctic Burn, a Fade Bolt, and it's very hard to fight into them. Also, their Beastmaster is just stupidly farmed. 33's net worth this game is unbelievable. And now the main thing that really comes together for this build at this point of the game, even though it does get, even more tanky when you get towards your Ags, is this level 15 timing, right? Keep in mind, he also at level 10 takes his movement speed talent, so you can see there's a big emphasis on actually being able to kite in and out. On top of that, he also has raindrops, which is a fantastic item because the mana regen gets amped by the Kaya. And on top of that, it really just makes you tanky. So basically what you're seeing here is you're taking your survivability talents. You're also building a survivability item, and you now have this Heavenly Jump, which is a defensive ability. And so Zeus goes from this very killable, only damage hero to this damage hero that still pumps damage, right? But is also incredibly survivable and can eat the jump of like a Storm Spirit, you know? And really, I find that to be very cool, and I think this build has a ton of potential, so definitely keep it in mind. I will say that I think in some games it's still good to go Aether Lens, especially if the enemy has some hero that can easily just kill you from full. Maybe there's like a snowballing Ursa. It's probably not the best idea to go Kaya and Sange against someone who can just, you know, full to nothing you anyway. But in a game like this, where their best jump is like a Wraith King or an Ember, who, you know, don't like status resistance and can't really burst through 2000 HP, you're gonna thrive in these situations, and that's exactly what we see. Look at this upcoming team fight here. I mean, this Wraith King just disappears. Like, there's no other way to put it. This Wraith King just completely disappears. They go in, he just instantly evaporates. The Ember tries to get on top of Zeus because that's what you do. You try to go on Zeus, and 9 doesn't even have to feel remotely threatened. Hits him with the Heavenly Jump here, that slows the Ember. That means that the Ember's Remnant only moves at like 100 movement speed. So the Remnant is completely useless here. Weehaw can't get out, and 9 is just chilling, you know? I mean, to be fair, they're 16k ahead, but even if this game was like 3-4k net worth ahead, look at this for instance here. Gets jumped, he's like fine, you know, he's eating this black hole. Obviously ends up going down. Unfortunately, you can't status resist a black hole. I will actually kind of argue that Snake King sort of killed him here on the Wyvern. He was fine, right? I mean, you could argue, oh, he's gonna get black holed anyway, but realistically, with this status resist, he could have heavenly jumped to here, no problem. So, you know, Snake King, just a trash player. No, I'm kidding. But at the end of the day, you could see the potential here. Easily would have lived through that Wraith King jump. Nonetheless, ends up tanking a black hole because the Wraith King can't one-shot him, so they have to commit black hole to kill him, and you get the gist. And next up, he's gonna buy an Ags. That's gonna give him about, what, 250 HP as well. So he's just stacking up on HP, becoming incredibly tanky. And that's gonna be all for today's video. I'm really excited to try out this Zeus. I plan on playing it quite a bit. I think it has a ton of potential. Even in games where it's not necessarily a quote-unquote great Zeus game, I think the hero can do well now, simply because of the versatility in items that you can buy, the level 15 talent that makes you really tanky. Even here he gets a Pupil's Gift, doesn't decide to use it because he has a Keen Optic, but if he didn't have a Keen Optic, he could use a Pupil's Gift, get an extra 300 HP, and currently be sitting at 2,500 HP. That's pretty unbelievable. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the gameleap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.